and I have talked about this in the past. If you can pressure any quarterback, you have a way to beat them. You can't pressure them; they're going to eat you alive. These are professionals.
Exactly.
Unless they're colorblind.
And Simeon's shown that he can throw, he can play the game. So with Tampa Bay coming off a loss, that would be my only thing at home. A lot of times this is the NFL; people can bounce back. But the Broncos are pretty good. They're great on defense, so I wouldn't have a problem starting him in one of my leagues and then lining him up with Emmanuel Sanders.
Sure, and then you can really pounce on some top-notch players as well with that kind of room financially. And sometimes, hey, look, Julio Jones has been a top-notch bust.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Marvin Jones. I like him this year or this week.
The top-rated wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think he's arrived now in that sense to where you need to look at him like he is Julio Jones or Antonio Brown or one of these other studs. The situation he's in, he's definitely the number one guy. And then he's on a bad, a somewhat bad team where their defense is bad and their offense is great. I mean, that's the perfect. That's why Julio Jones was an awesome wide receiver the last so many years. That's why Antonio Brown, you couldn't rely on their defense with Pittsburgh, but he knew the offense was going to light it up, and he was the number one guy. So.
Sure. And Marvin Jones, I was big on him in the preseason. I was so big on him that I didn't draft him in a single league.
I wanted to. I got beat on him because, again, I was trying to go for value. And, in one of our leagues, I pulled that insane Gordon pick up early.
Yeah. It was a gamble.
Up there, some of the people we play with in our standard fantasy league, they're pretty unorthodox. So you don't know. You can get a kicker gone in the third round.
You could have that.
So if you see somebody you like in our league, you kind of got to jump on them. And I liked what I thought was shaping up for Gordon this year, and I jumped on him way too early, and now it's going to cost me. But honestly, at the time, I picked my core players I wanted and then picked him, thinking like I was getting, like you said, that top guy who was left, and it's just not panning out. So.
I did the same thing. I want to say that the league I grabbed him was a Northeastern Ohio league, so I may have reached a little bit early. I don't remember what round it was, so I don't even want to take a stab at it. But I think I did jump out there thinking that I am in a Northeastern Ohio league and somebody's going to reach for him eventually.
Exactly.
I felt like same way I had things put together and I just grabbed him. So,
well, and if he takes the field, he is the most talented wide receiver in the NFL. Go back and look 2 years ago when he was in his deal. It's ridiculous.
He's in that conversation. He is in that conversation. There's no doubt about it. He could be elite if he could get clean, and maybe the kid will. He's young. He's got time. Hopefully it's just pot, but we don't want to revisit that. Let's visit tight ends, man. This is a tricky spot this season. It's a real tricky spot because you don't have your old go-to.
No, and that's kind of good, though, because you don't have to worry about going and getting the 20, well, so far anyway. You don't have to worry about losing out on the Gronk production or one of these other guys that get you 20-something points that you didn't pick and now you lose. Everyone seems to be getting upper single digits to lower double digits, and so you can still contend if you make a little trade there. This week, for the matchup and how he performed last week, and it's a no-brainer because of his cost, is Zach Miller. I know I'm sure a lot of people will start him, but again, we're doing this plenty of different choices, so I'm not too concerned with the matching people. Again, So going up against Detroit, again, we had that shootout going on.
And Zach Miller looks like he got a nice situation brewing with him and Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, Brian Hoyer, people, he's not a sexy pick, but he can get the job done. So someone like a tight end is valuable to someone like Brian Hoyer, who isn't the star.
Hoyer's mobile. He extends the play, can move the pocket around. Guys like Zach Miller can come back to the ball inside the red zone. They love Zach Miller.
Yeah, he's a big dude. You saw what he did against Dallas the other day.
I did.
That one touchdown.
It's just crazy to me that they love Zach Miller in the red zone when you've got 7'9" Alshon Jeffrey on the other side.
Well, I think Alshon Jeffrey,
he draws the coverage.
Yeah, he draws the coverage, and I think they're just used to not being able to rely on him.
Yeah, he's never really been healthy. It's a shame because he's an incredible athlete, incredible receiver, I should say. I don't know too much about him. I've never seen him play slow pitch softball, but he's an incredible receiver. So Zach Miller at the tight end position.
Yeah, I like it. I think there's going to be a lot of scores. I know the Detroit secondary is one of the worst in the NFL.
You're the guru, dude. When you say it, all I do is hit the plus sign. Just plug him right in.
Yeah.
I like it, too. Look, it makes sense. He's a red zone target. This is a Bears team that's playing at home against a Detroit Lions team that frankly, has just been the victim of a tough schedule. I don't think this Lions team's that bad. I think these guys love playing for Jim Caldwell. They showed it the last half of last year when I think the last 5 games, those guys could have just put nothing on tape, laid the hell down, let Jim Caldwell get fired. They'd all lost their jobs too.
No,
but this isn't a bad football team.
I like their offense. I mean, Matthew Stafford is back. He certainly, we mulled over him and Matt Ryan, whether or not they were done, and they're not. Neither one of those guys are done. They're back. You could pick them up, start them whenever you want. The matchups dictate. Definitely start them. That kind of thing. I like both of them. So their offense, if they hadn't lost Abdullah, but again, they're not so run heavy that even matters. Theo Riddick seems to be able to produce for him.
He does. I think Theo Riddick had like 85 catches last year out of the backfield.
Yeah, he's a guy, not necessarily this week, but and he could be a good matchup this week because Chicago, like I said, they allowed some yards last week to Elliott. But at the end of the day, I don't know. He's one of those guys to where it's like a hit or miss, like a LeGarrette Blount. 1 week he'll have a great, he'll get all these touches, and I guess depending on the matchup, the next week he'll fare up to show up on the radar. So that's why somebody like him, I'd be a little more reserved to start this week. But again, it's not a bad matchup, and again, when you're on such a highly producing offensive, team, then it's not a bad start, but he just doesn't match up to others.
Give me a backup tight end if you got one.
Well, I like it. Doesn't the numbers per se don't dictate as far as the matchup is concerned, but Kyle Rudolph is.
I'm with you. Him and Sam Bradford love each other.
Well, and if you look at Sam Bradford loves his tight ends. Look at Brent Selleck and, gosh, it escapes me now. He's hurt.
Zach Ertz.
Yes, thank you. Look at what their production over the last couple of years has been, especially when they've realized that those guys are valuable. Again, they can get lost in the shuffle. It seems like certain teams don't understand, like Cleveland, they don't understand who they have, or Chicago with Zach Miller. And studs that should be getting the ball often seem to maybe fall off for a game or two. Okay. So the Phillies seem to when they needed to rely on their tight ends, they've always produced for them. And so now you have Kyle Rudolph. He needs to be productive for that offense to do anything. And they got a defense. It's almost an offense designed for a tight end right now.
It would seem that way, and you know as well as I do that with rookie quarterbacks and quarterbacks that are new to the system, that simple route is that tight end. He's nearest to you. The communication just picks up faster.
The guy's usually 6'4", and he's the one that's like you said, he's the closest to you. He's the biggest target, and chances are the defender is behind him. So I mean, go for it. Yeah, you might only get 7
all day. I love Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, and we've already seen him get I think touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. So he's the guy. I mean, he's not a sexy pick. He's not going to get Gronk numbers, but he could pull Gronk touchdowns. So
yeah, I think so. I think, and there's another game too that in weeks past, I want to say your first episode, we had talked about the over/under, the total, helping you lean towards certain games. I think with the matchups this week, there's a lot of just fun matchups to stare at. That's a Monday night game that's at a 43-point. That over/under is deceiving in a Vikings game because the defense has been so good.
Yeah, and it's Monday night. I always love the stage of Monday night. And I always love, just for the sake of fantasy, and it's weird, there is no set logic to it, but it always seems like whenever you have a player left, that guy gets points. Whereas when you're sitting home and all your games are done on Sunday and you got a 20-point lead, that lead evaporates. And I don't know, I've speculated, is it because they have an extra day to rest and repair and go over things? Or is it the stage that they're on? They know more people are watching. But it's always nice to have somebody going on Monday night.
It sure is.
The deciding factor.
It's a different animal under the lights. It most certainly is. And let me say this to you. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going off memory here, but 3 out of the 4, now I know we're 3 weeks into the season, but there was 2 Monday night games on opening weekend. 3 of the 4 Monday night games have gone over the total. The one game that didn't was because San Francisco shut out the Rams.
Okay. I don't know that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
No, they've been barn burners, and a lot of points on Monday night. I wouldn't look for this Monday night Giants-Vikings game to be any different. I don't see Eli coming out and tossing for 350 and 4 scores. I see Eli tossing for 220, maybe throwing the ball 45 times and throwing 3 picks. This Minnesota defense is just physically dominant, and that hurts teams like the Giants that are fledgling. Really, I know a lot of same players, same pieces, different chess player in Ben McAdoo. This is a different matchup, but we're going to get into that on Saturday when we start to pick the games. But let's get to a defense for the FanDuel system here, man. You're blowing my mind with this breakdown. This is excellent. I hope the listeners out there are enjoying it too. I am. I'm really loving it.
Yeah, the defense I like, and remember the way that we've structured our team this week is we've gone after some bargain running backs that probably will produce highly, so you can afford to spend where you normally would not see value. And
there's a lot of room left.
That the Arizona Cardinals are playing at home against the Los Angeles Rams, a division matchup. The Rams obviously have showed that offensively they're not much of a team to contend with stars. And I think, Arizona must win. They must win this game. So being at home, I think you're going to see for sure double-digit scores as far as maybe 12 could be a guarantee, but I wouldn't be surprised if they even doubled that because they've shown that this is one of those teams like Kansas City that, granted, Arizona has a little more press because they've done a little better in the last few years, but still, you don't think of them first when you think of the dominant defense, and then look what they've done over the last few years, and they have some insane single-game point totals for what their defense and special teams has done. So given the matchup at home, coming off of a loss, must win, it's almost a no-brainer. My other one I liked before I found out J.J. Watt was being put on IR was I liked Houston at home against Tennessee.
Coming off a Thursday night beating.
Yeah, you still might find value in that play if you, and I haven't done the research yet, if you look to see how their other injuries are doing. Because, granted, J.J. Watt is such a cog in that machine, but if you have Clowney on the field and you have Cushings, which I can't remember if Cushing's back from his injury.
I don't know if he is or not, but to interject on that, I think you take J.J. Watt off the field. After that Thursday night shellacking, I think their backs are broken.
Possibly, but then remember they're men, and it's against Tennessee, who gives up pretty high point totals when it comes to their to defensive special teams.
Yeah.
So they're 29th out of 32 teams. So I'm still comfortable because, again, if they have the rest of their defense, and that's pretty good defense.
Yeah,
so
it is. It is.
Play, and again, we're just keeping our fingers crossed here. So I would play it once just to see. But would I stack it in every lineup? Not now. I wouldn't. No.
Okay.
I couldn't find value. My every lineup one would be Arizona.
Okay. And then let's jump on a kicker. We've got about 5.5 minutes left.
Yeah, kicker is pretty easy this week, and I don't know why his value isn't going up. It's Dustin Hopkins.
Okay.
I mean, he's the prototype kicker that you want